everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And filling in for me, I'm Dan Beecher.
Welcome back, Dan.
Thank you. And the same goes to you.
Thanks.
Yeah, you and I just had a lovely conversation about your trip to Germany for the patrons.
Over on the Frank and Dan Diary.
That's the patrons only content. You could get it if you become one. Anyway, it sounds like it was a lovely time.
It was a really good time.
And probably, by the end of the month, you'll have finished digesting.
Yeah.
That German food can hit you like a brick, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. We didn't really go for the food. So that was good. that was lucky.
Yeah.
That. But yeah, I guess we have a show to do, Dan. On the second half of the show today, we're going to be talking about the Michigan legislature, which is controlled by the Democrats. They just passed a law making all religious holidays state holidays in the state of Michigan. So,
or at least a bunch of them, yeah.
It wasn't all? I thought well, that's sticky. How do you pick? All right, we'll talk about that on the second half of the show.
Yeah.
And but first we have some news. And everyone, I'm a little jet lagged. So if it sounds
I'll
like
forgive you.
I'm not firing on all pistons, there's a reason for it.
This is a great way to introduce a show. This is going to be a subpar show, everybody.
Just brace yourselves, everybody.
Just enjoy. Just sit back and enjoy a not quite as good show.
Because Frank's a little bit of a dum-dum today. But all right. No, the first story that I want to share with everybody is an update about Kim Davis. You'll remember Kim Davis.
I haven't heard that name for a minute. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, right?
You'll all recall Kim Davis.
Yeah,
I don't know. You better remind us who Kim Davis is.
She was the Kentucky or the county clerk in Kentucky that right after the Supreme Court decision making gay marriage the law of the land. Yeah. She started refusing to issue same-sex marriage licenses. This was
bravely. She bravely
in Kentucky
stood by her convictions over her, job.
Right. Her argument was that, it violated her religious beliefs, that marriage is between a man and a woman, and so therefore she shouldn't have to do it.
She shouldn't have to give a piece of paper to other people.
Yeah. And as a reminder of some of the consequences for this, aside from national ridicule, she was jailed briefly on contempt of court charges for refusing to issue the licenses.
Right.
She was later released when her staff issued the marriage certificates, but without her name on the form. That was, I guess, her workaround. And then last year, a federal judge ruled that she had violated the constitutional rights of two gay couples who were suing her. That's not a good thing. Being found guilty of violating constitutional rights of others. Not good. And let's see. At the time, U.S. District Judge David Bunning said that Davis cannot use her own constitutional rights as a shield to violate the constitutional rights of others while performing her duties as an elected official. This week, here's the update part. A federal jury ordered Kim Davis to pay $50,000 each to David Ermold and David Moore, who were suing her for the damages, I suppose. And so that's
a nice little wedding present.
$100,000 she's been ordered to cough up. Of course, this is going to be appealed, and her defense team in a press release says that they look forward to appealing this decision and taking the case to the U.S. Supreme Court. It is important to remember, though, that in 2020, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear an appeal from Davis's lawyer on the matter already. So I don't know where this is going to go. I'm delighted that she's potentially on the hook. Of course, some billionaire douchebag will probably pay it for her or something.
Well, or she'll start a GoFundMe
Or
and
something,
all the assholes will contribute. And lest we feel too bad for her, like all of her lawyering has been done by high profile conservative groups that, that she hasn't had to pay for any of this stuff. So she's fine. But I'm glad to hear that the couple's getting some money. It's
good that you cleared that up. I was feeling bad for her.
Yeah.
So
no,
No, she's a peach.
She's a folk hero is what she is.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to her book. That's what I'm.
Oh gosh.
Sure.
Do you think it'll be scratch and sniff? What do you think? Pop up? I'm not sure what. I'm not sure what she's going to go for.
It's been a long time since there was a good new pop up book.
That's what we need.
Yeah, it could be a combo. It could also be scratch and sniff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Smell the pop ups.
Kim, I know you're listening. We're giving you gold here. Oh lordy! All right. Well, I am going to take us to South Carolina, which is home of Bob Jones University. And I will admit that literally a significant reason why I chose to do this story is just because I hadn't realized that they shortened the name of Bob Jones University to BJU.
Oh, no.
And that delights me so much. Come on, man. Call it Robert Jones University. What are you doing?
They don't understand the sudden uptick in applications.
Well, there's a new podcast that's come out that is called Surviving Bob Jones University, a Christian Cult. Which I think is probably apt and apropos. BJU, not unlike BYU, though completely unrelated, has a pretty strict code of conduct. Probably more strict, actually, than BYU's.
Really?
If that can be believed.
Huh.
Including things like no physical contact between unmarried men and women. Though, quote, side hugs are permitted for photographs. Which, wow.
A side hug.
Yeah. Like Jesus would do.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Students are not allowed to, they are to avoid rock, pop, jazz, country, and rap music.
Oh, wow.
I'm impressed country's in there. These musics have, quote, the markers of our current corrupt culture.
What can they listen to? What are they like? Rockabilly?
Hymns?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah. They didn't say punk.
Yeah. Okay.
They didn't say heavy metal.
Okay. All right.
Does that count as rock? I don't know. You gotta love it when old people write rules and then like try to think of like anything that, like, I don't know. Did we get all the black kinds of music?
Oh,
feels like that's what's most important to them. Anyway, plus country. They are allowed to dance at BJU, but they are not. They are to do it without, quote, expressions of worldliness or sexually provocative nature.
Oh, I know that dance.
Yes.
I think I was 12 when I learned that dance.
Yeah, the stand and rock back and forth quasi rhythmically.
Yeah.
I doubt that the students at BJU are tremendously rhythmic, but there you go. No movies higher than a PG rating. Anyway, you get the idea. It is pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Conservative business casual attire.
Oh, these poor people.
Yeah. And obviously there's no same-sex dating or advocating for such allowed on the campus.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think you're right. This is stricter than BYU.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And obviously an environment like that breeds a terrible culture Like that is you can't be that restrictive and have a decent culture. So it became apparently a snitch culture where everybody is there to tattle on everybody else. It became a place where obviously abuse, sexual abuse, sexual assault, all of these things. The victims are the ones that get punished far more frequently than the perpetrators.
Yep. Yeah.
It's the upside down world at places like this. So anyway, I think that new podcast sounds interesting. Surviving BJU.
Oh my God.
Can we call it Blowjob University from now on? Can we just? I'm gonna call it that. In my heart, that's what it is. Only without the blow, you're not allowed to do blowjobs.
Maybe a side blowjob. I don't know what that would be, but
yes, you have to, but only for photographs.
Yes, yeah, that's how Bob Jones liked it. So yeah, that works.
Oh.
Well, all right, Dan. Over there in Belgium, lovely country.
Sure, I've never been, but I hear great things.
Yeah, I like Belgium. I like Belgium a lot, actually. Fun to travel there.
Waffles, chocolate, and beer. Who could be mad about that?
It's heaven on earth. They have had a string of arson attacks on their schools, public schools. And the officials now believe that the attacks are connected to a controversial sex education program in grades. Well, the grades that cover ages 11 and 12 and 15 to 16.
Okay.
Because they've just changed the rules. This program has existed, I guess, for quite a while. And sex ed is taught in Belgian schools. But they just made it compulsory for those two age groups to receive 4 hours of training on that's intended to help children develop their relational and sexual lives. God forbid, right?
Oh my God.
And like I said, it has been around for quite some time. It's called EVRES. It's a French abbreviation, or not abbreviation, whatever.
An initialism?
An initialism, thank you. That stands for stuff I'm not going to say.
Sure.
But in there is the word sex. The S is for sex education. Sure. And that is what people have really clung on to in their opposition to it. Now, I had some difficulty finding a really good description of what the program covers that's not in French. Thank you. But from what I gather, aside from probably age-appropriate descriptions of sex, they has a focus on teaching the children to be aware of their rights, right? Their rights as a human being to reject, advances or whatnot, and aware of their physical integrity is how it's stated in this article. And that sounds great. Like the children who are taught about sex and who understand these issues, right? They're the safer ones. They're less likely to actually fall prey to somebody who might, be trying something wrong, right?
Yeah.
With them.
Do you want your child to be safe? Do you want your child to be to not end up with an unwanted pregnancy, or to not be able to be groomed for assault or whatever?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Like if children understand, or young people understand, actually, if anyone understands contraception, right? Like this is important. And it's a great way to prevent abortions from happening, Christians.
Right. If that's what you want.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the reason that they think that it's in response to that, no groups have claimed responsibility for these arson attacks, but they found some signs protesting the Everest program in some of the schools. And so that's where they're looking at the moment. And it does make a lot of sense. Apparently, there's several Islamic groups have condemned the program in a joint statement, fearing it will favor hypersexualization, quote unquote, of children.
That's what they're going for. They're going for hypersexualizing children.
And apparently, just social conservatives in general have been it's not just Muslims. They're not looking specifically at the Islamic groups only to find the perpetrators of this.
I mean, when you object to, sort of a direction that your society is going, burning schools seems like the right choice, doesn't it? Like when you could go to a political meeting, you could try to rally people to vote in a certain way, or you can just eliminate the buildings. And then what are they going to do? Yeah,
well, there's a quote in here from the mayor of Charleroi, where one of their schools got attacked. He compares the arsons to a form of terrorism. He says, these are arson attacks on schools, which are sacred places. They're places where children learn respect and tolerance and shouldn't be afraid, right? Like, I imagine that this is kind of
are the attacks happening while there are children? While
I don't think so. It's not like they're firebombing the schools or anything, but they're not trying to kill the children.
Well, then that's fine, Frank.
That would kind of defeat the whole point of what they're trying to do. Like, they think they're protecting the children, right? They're not going to set the school on fire when there are actually children there. What kind of sociopaths would these people? Well, okay, let me back up. This is also someone defending the Everest program. This is Caroline Desser. She's the education minister in the region. She says, no, it does not prepare a pedophile system. No, it doesn't plan to make children want to change gender. No, it doesn't plan to teach children how to engage in sexual activities, right? Like, there's just all this misinformation out there. And that's the thing. Like, people who oppose these things, they, first of all, they probably barely, if they even understand what is being taught, right? That's probably giving them too much credit. Yeah. Right? Like, they just hear the word sex and ed, and that it's going to be in the schools, and that it's compulsory, and they fucking lose their minds. And then with the worst intentions and not arguing in good faith against, the program, right? They just make shit up.
Yeah, there's no such thing as good faith in any of this. I mean, they're definitely burning the buildings in good faith. Like, they mean to do that. Sure. That's a pretty clear statement.
Does seem like the wrong thing to burn, though, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, there's no right thing to burn. Other than you could burn a flag or something. That's speech, but there's burning is just not. I don't know. It's not great messaging. I think it's definitely unnuanced. I'm going to say that. All right, well, I'm going to take us to Florida, where only good things happen in Florida, including that good guy Ronald DeSantis, currently the Florida governor, but trying to be our president. That's not going to happen. Anyway, Ronnie Boy has decided that he is going to. He has pushed a lot of dumb things. He has now pushed, and his school boards are looking at accepting or pushing the clit.
Wait, what?
Well, okay, it's the classic learning test, and they're making Florida's public university system accept this test in lieu of an SAT or an ACT if you want to take it.
Is this the one that's basically for homeschooled Christian kids?
Yeah, pretty much. Right. It is definitely considered by anyone in academia a lesser test. It has not been well proven. They have not shown that they are testing at even a high school grade level.
Oh, geez.
It seems to be like the easy test, but it's also the test that skews culturally to Christianity, and you know, your reading comprehension bits are going to be from, you know, Saint this or that, or you know, it's a lot. And of course it very much favors, you know, what they call classical or Western tradition as being, you know, the good stuff. You know, all of that European dead white guy stuff is what's the good stuff.
Right.
And, you know, those uppity people who keep trying to make other cultures and experiences valid, they're not heavily featured in the clit. So there you go. If you want to go to school in Florida, which I wouldn't if I were you, but if you don't do, I guess if you don't test well, that might be a good option for you. A lot of schools are turning away from tests as a metric anyway, just because, plenty of very smart people don't necessarily take tests well. It's not a great way or a universal way to make sure that you're getting the highest quality students. But this particular test seems to be the worst way. So it's the worst of all possible worlds. I'm very glad that it's happening. Go Florida.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, I want to take us to Ukraine, where
where nothing but good things are happening.
Oh, yeah, and something's about to happen that is just not a good idea. You're familiar with Rosh Hashanah, right?
Sure.
It's
Jewish high holiday.
Yeah, it's like it marks the new year, right? It's a 2 day.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yes, Rosh Hashanah. Yes,
it's like New Year, but you're totally right. It marks the beginning of the high holy days.
Right.
It falls in September or October, and there is a tradition amongst the ultra-Orthodox community, Jewish community, specifically one brand of Hasidic Jews that they do like this pilgrimage of sorts to this one town in Ukraine for Rosh Hashanah. And upwards of like 40,000 people, can show up for it. They're expecting like about probably 35,000 this year because of the war, right? Yeah. But also because of the war. That's still,
like, considering that there's a war, that is not a small number.
No. And these people will not be deterred. Let's see, the Israeli and Ukrainian governments are both saying, please don't come, right? Please do not come. So much so, the Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, he's pleading with them to not go. Volodymyr Zelensky, right, who we should also point out is Jewish, is really discouraging them. He says that there are not enough shelters in Uman, that's the name of the town, for local residents, let alone foreign tourists.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. This is, there are those who are going there to do very religious-y stuff, and that will be observed, right?
Yeah.
But apparently this is quite the party, right?
That's what you need?
Yeah. There's like free-flowing booze, apparently, according to this article. There's usually a bunch of like drug busts during the thing.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, this is actually a really interesting thing, because it's like, well, why this one town in Ukraine, right? Uman. There's some great grandson of basically the founder of what today is broadly known as Hasidic Judaism. And he spent the final months of his life there. This, let's see, where's his... Nachman was his last name, of Breslov, and then he died there, and so his burial site was there. And I guess during World War II, like the Jewish community of about 17,000 people in this town were completely wiped out. There's basically nobody. There might be some people who did go back, but yeah, like completely wiped out. And so anyway, so since basically when did the Soviet Union fall? Like 1989?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Since then, because during the Soviet Union times, right, like very few people made the pilgrimage, right?
Right.
And but since '89, it has been a party.
It sounds to me like Rosh Hashanah is, at least in this instance, is turning into like the Mardi Gras of Judaism, where because I know that like coming up is Yom Kippur, which is a much more sort of somber affair.
Yeah.
That's the Jewish Day of Atonement.
Mm-hmm.
But you might as well get your party on before that.
Yeah, the article sort of references that there's some sort of sense there's a belief that like praying over his grave, you can like get all your sins forgiven or something like that. I didn't double check that detail. But it is from The Guardian, so I think they probably did an okay job reporting this. Crazy times.
Sounds great. Go to a war zone for a party.
And literally, like it's like just south of Kyiv, right? Like it's 125 miles south of Kyiv, which ain't too far. It's been hit. It's been hit by bombs. People have died.
Wow.
Because of the war in this town. Like craziness.
They got nothing on the fire festival, but I mean, it feels similar. It feels similar. Crazy. All right. Well, I'm gonna take us now to a lawsuit that is revealing some interesting things. This is a lawsuit filed by Robert Chambers, who for 7 years worked for the American Family Association, which is I believe marked by the Southern Poverty Law Center as a hate group.
Oh, because such a nice name, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. They just don't include all of the American families.
Oh, right. There you go.
There are several that aren't included in their idea of an American family. Anyway, yes, this guy, Robert Chambers, apparently was their vice president of policy and legislative affairs and executive vice president of AFA Action, which apparently is their lobbying arm. And while he was there, apparently, and again, a lot of this is about what happens when you have to, when everything's restrictive, your culture is super restrictive, and B, you have to make your institution look squeaky clean, and you can't allow anything to tarnish your reputation. He's alleging sexual misconduct, including one guy who was especially egregious at like walking around and just sexually harassing apparently everybody in sight, including this guy.
What?
Just going up and grabbing his face and his ear on at least one occasion. This according to the complaint.
And doing saying, what? Oh, okay, you're getting to
it. And saying, I see you're really good with that wrist action. I wonder how you got to be so good at that.
Oh, God.
And now you don't want me to get a hold of you, do you? You'd really like that, wouldn't you? You'd like me to take you and get a hold of you.
Oh, my God.
Yikes. Like that is, of course, the thing that instantly gets you fired from any normal institution. If there's more than one complaint about a person on that level, that person doesn't work there anymore. But not at the AFA, because those fucking Christian weirdos do not know how to handle anything. It's nuts. There were also allegations of like financial misdeeds, including like one, I think, not acknowledging that AFA Action is connected with the AFA for tax purposes. Not just a whole bunch of like real nasty, basically tax evasion, which then did the IRS did eventually revoke the tax exempt status of the AFA action. I think since then, now AFA has filed as a church so that they don't have to show everything or whatever,
Right.
which they're not a church, but that's what they do. And then here's another really interesting little tidbit of sexual harassment of a kind. I can't imagine how this works out, but when it happens, so a woman named Lexi Wildman, who is the spouse, she was this guy's administrative assistant, but she's the spouse of AFA Action's CEO, Walker Wildman, and daughter-in-law of the president of AFA. So,
Jesus Christ. Okay.
So it's
very
like,
well connected in the organization.
She's important, apparently. She apparently had a dream that this Chambers guy kissed her baby on the mouth.
Okay.
She had that dream. This was not a thing that happened. This was a dream that she had, but she decided that he was unsafe to bring her kids around, so she couldn't bring her kids to the office if he was there, and apparently like spread that around to the rest of the office and like was like, I don't trust him, blah blah blah. So that's cute. That is another form of sexual harassment. When you hold someone accountable for something that they did in your dream, no, that's not acceptable. That's not okay.
This place sounds awful.
Yeah. Anyway, and then of course, this guy was fired. According to them,
because of the dream,
not for any of these things. It had nothing to do with that. Okay. Of course not. Anyway, he's suing. You gotta love when people from the inside sue, because you get to learn all sorts of crazy, juicy details about what's going on in that organization. And yikes.
Yeah.
So
yowza.
Yeah. They tried to when they fired him, they offered him a severance, but in order to get it, he apparently would have been required to owe a continual duty of loyalty to AFA and refrain from ever disparaging AFA, AFR, any of those things. Anyway, he did not take the bait on that one, and now he's suing.
Good for him.
So there you go. I mean, it's not like he's a peach. He was fighting the bad fight the whole time, but it's a good like look into how disgusting their organization actually is, beyond, the blatant and overt homophobia and that sort of thing.
It's surprising to me that these aren't good people.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just shocking when you hate to see it. You hate to see it. Well, friends, if you would like to chime in on this or any of the stories that we've had, if you'd like to write in and tell us about your, how fun the party was in Ukraine, feel free to do so. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or give us a call and tell us all about it. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
Well, Frank, this is the time of the podcast where we play a clip from some shitbag out in the world who has something to say. There's so often something said over a pulpit or, in front of a congregation, and this is that. This is apparently Pastor Rick Morrow, who had some stuff to say about physical and mental infirmity. We're going to give a trigger warning on this. If you are sensitive to really bad takes on
spectrum disorder,
on autism or any disability or different ableness, this one's gonna be rough. So let's hear that wonderful, awesome, awful take.
It's very crucial. Someone has a physical infirmity and you cast that demon out, you might have to pray for some things to be fixed. Let's talk about one. Let's talk about autism. Rick, did you just go there? Yeah. Like, I know a minister who has seen lots of kids that are autistic, that he cast that demon out and they were healed, and then he had to pray and their brain was rewired and they were fixed. Yeah, I just went there. I mean, you can get online and see lots of examples of it. If it's not demonic, then we have to say God made them that way. Like, that's the only other explanation. Why is my kid have autism? Well, either the devil's attacked them, he's brought this infirmity upon them, he's got them where he wants them, and or God just doesn't like them very much and he made them that way. Well, my God doesn't make junk. God doesn't make mess-ups. God doesn't make people that way. So let's quit being nice and putting a Band-Aid on stuff and giving it medicine. And this goes so much bigger than autism, people. I just gave you that as an example.
Wow. God doesn't make junk. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, that he called people with autism junk.
Yeah, he did. He did do that.
Which, not an awesome take, man. First of all, like, how telling is it just that he sees, I mean, it's clear he sees autism as as a defect.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we have to see it that way. Autism is different. It's a different kind of person. But just that. But yeah, I don't know. Go get your demons out, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. On my trip, I went to Dachau, right? Concentration camp. Yeah. And the thing that I was reminded of was just that they also killed all the sort of, I think they called them invalids or invalids or whatever, right? Invalids.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the same thinking, right? This is that people aren't made that way. Right?
Yeah. Well, you know that we're not using the word Asperger's anymore.
Right.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because Dr. Asperger was a fucking Nazi that was actually creating that diagnosis for bad uses.
Jesus Christ.
For bad purposes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like what like autism is just like the universal picked on thing, right? Like, oh, you don't vaccinate your kids, they'll get autism,
Right. Because autism is so much worse than tuberculosis or whatever the latest thing in being vaccinated for. I'd much rather have an autistic kid than a kid with
who's alive and well.
Smallpox or something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's tricky. That is some rough stuff. So let's get on to some better stuff. Some better people than that. Yeah. We had some folks write into us and call into us. So let's jump to that. So last week, you'll recall, Frank, that we talked about that Andrea and I talked about weddings and the traditions therein, especially here in these United States, and the fact that they are wildly sexist, informed by stupid religious traditions. So we had a lot of people who had stuff to say about it. This one's unsigned, but it says, "Hey, Frank and Dan, I've been a listener for a while now, and when listening to episode 614 about weddings and how often and how women change last names, Dan said that women, I'm summarizing, get to choose between their dad's name or their husband's last name. I felt a little off when you said this because while, yes, it is my dad's last name, technically, it's still my last name. We don't say that we're taking our husband's dad's, etc. last name because we see the man's last name as his own. But a woman's last name is never her own. I get that it's different, but my last name is mine because I'm my own person from my dad, and just as my brother is. I get that. That it's a valid point. My point wasn't that like your last name isn't yours. And you understand this. My point was just I've talked to a bunch of women who like they didn't, necessarily like their dad. And if you don't like your dad, you're carrying around a man's name that you don't feel a connection to. And a lot of times, their moms divorce the dad. The moms go back to their maiden name, but you're stuck with the name of the guy that you hated or whatever, or that treated you badly.
Yeah, that's interesting. But a guy doesn't have that same thing, right? Like, if you don't like your dad, you're a man, right? Who doesn't like your dad. Do you have that same impulse of like, well, then this isn't my last name? I mean, suppose if it was really bad and whatnot, but like,
I think the question mainly comes up when a woman's getting married. And it's a question between one man's last name and another man's last name. But I mean, this is a much larger problem, and we have other people who have written in about it as well. I don't know a solution. I just think that this sort of patrilineal naming convention is weird, and it's time for something different. I don't know. Maybe women should take their mother's last name. Yeah. Or men should take their mother's last name. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know that there's a... Let's just not do last names. Right. Let's just all be Oprah, or... You get Oprah or Madonna or Prince. Those are the ones that are available. No, I'm just Frank, right? Hello, Frank. I mean, because like, I'm sorry, I know that like the last name, it helps like differentiate me, Frank, from another Frank, but there's a bunch of Frank Feldmans out there, right? Yeah. Like I'm currently dealing with an issue of having been confused with another Frank Feldman for an account that I have, right? And now I'm getting all this stuff that's for him. And it's like, and it's not my dad, Frank Feldman. Yeah. Right. So it's not like it actually differentiates you all that well. So just no last names. No. Okay. That's one choice. That's one option. I have no. How about just a series of first names? Right. Then that's like, there you go. Yeah. Or, I mean, you could just do, a name and a profession. We could go back to that. Oh, we could go back to identifying each other by our profession. Your Frank podcast. Yeah, I'm Frank the podcaster. Yeah, of Salt Lake City. I'm not sure people want to be identified with their professions either necessarily, but there's no easy out. There's no easy way to do this. Let's see. We had a voicemail, did we not? We did, from Sherry, who has a story about an upcoming wedding in response to all of this. All right.
Hi, Dan and Frank. It's Sherry. I'm here in Australia, and I've just been listening to the most recent podcast on your thoughts on marriage. Totally agree. But I wanted to just share something pretty quick with you, that I have been invited to a rather unique wedding. This is from an old school friend when I was back in my Jehovah's Witness days. I couldn't really hang out with her because of my Jehovah's Witness days. She invited me to be in her wedding way back then, and I said no because of my Jehovah's Witness days. Fast forward to now, when I left the religion 7 years ago, and I've reconnected with my high school friend after 25 years. She's now getting married in October, and she has invited me to her wedding to be her bridesmaid. But here's where it gets super cool. She's marrying a woman. Yay, my first wedding party with a gay wedding. And in addition to that, the wedding is on Friday the 13th of October. That's deliberately planned. And there is going to be satanic hymns and 1,000 candles, and I think you get the gist of what this wedding is going to be like. So I am so down for it and looking forward to it. I think it's going to be not boring. So hopefully you approve, Dan. Thanks, guys, for your work. Love it. Mwah. See you next time. Bye.
Satanic lesbian weddings.
Woohoo!
It's the wave of the future.
Yeah.
I say if you can't live up to a satanic lesbian wedding, just elope. You there's a high bar to be set. But yeah, there you go.
Well, I love that Sherry's out there, getting to do things she couldn't do.
I know.
When she was a member of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Can you imagine how much she would have just felt, how awful she would have felt if she were still a Jehovah's Witness and found out that her friend was doing a satanic lesbian wedding?
Yeah. But instead, it's fun.
Instead, she gets to rejoice in it.
Yeah.
How much better is that life? The life that you get to be pleased about this goofball 1,000-candle wedding rather than being completely apoplectic about it.
Right. Exactly. I love it.
Yeah, me too. All right. Sam wrote into us, "Hey, Frank and Dan, first off, love your show. Never fails to delight and enrage." That's what we're going for.
A wonderful combination.
Yes, indeed. I was just listening to your latest show where Dan and Andrea talked about marriage and the outdated traditions that come along with that. Speaking as someone who has been married and now divorced, I would do things differently next time around. Though I didn't have a religious ceremony, I still did some of the traditions that to appease my mom and dad. A big reception for my mom where she had someone bless the food. That's all I would allow. I also had my dad walk me down. I did this more for my dad because I'm his only girl, his only child for that matter, and I knew that it was important to him. It wasn't about giving me away for me or him. I didn't allow the who gives this woman to this man thing in any form or fashion. It was more about the moment we had as we walked from the car down to the beach. I'm very close with him. Also, he is agnostic, and my mom is a soft Baptist, meaning she isn't the crazy kind you hear about, but still has faith. All that said, I would not do any of this again. My current partner and I have discussed marriage and what we want. I'm an atheist and he grew up in a Buddhist home and country. So Western wedding traditions aren't exactly important to us. I told him about the giving away thing and how I didn't want that, and he thought the concept was weird. We've decided to have an American-style wedding ceremony with reception following, but we will meet at the back and walk in together.
Right.
This is important to me because I don't have to meet him or have him wait on me. To me, that tradition shows that the man is always ahead and the woman always must meet him where he is instead of them being equal partners and meeting in the middle, so to speak. Yep, I think that's right. I think that's great. Here's the thing. If you want to have your dad walk with you down the aisle, or if you want to have your mom walk with you down the aisle, I don't care what it is you do. It matters to me that it's thoughtful, though.
Yeah, that it's your choice, right?
It matters to me that you're choosing it for your reasons.
And that it's meaningful for you.
Right. And that it's not just you're participating in sexist things just because it's expected of you. I mean, I think that was the issue. I have no issue with a woman taking her husband's name if she wants to. As long, I have an issue. I do have an issue. A friend of mine literally over this last week, since we recorded that, she's about to get married. I think she's getting married today, as a matter of fact. And she got a letter in the mail that said to Mr. and Mrs. his name. And it was like, no. And it's not that taking his name would be bad. It's that someone else is presuming. You know what I mean? And it's the presumption that's the problem. Well, we have some folks to thank.
We do indeed, Dan.
So I'm going to start us off with thanking Monty, who is now a teacher in the TGIA priesthood. Thank you so much, Monty, for that. We bless and approve of you.
And we also have some new patrons over on Patreon. We have 2 new deacons by the name of Evan and Word of the Broad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And we also have a new elder by the name of Fallon.
Wow.
So thank you very much. And if you'd like to join them in supporting the show, you can do so. Go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and click on the support tab. There's some options. Options are available. And as always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up. Well, Frank,
Dan.
this was emailed into us from an astute listener from Michigan.
Oh, nice.
Who sent us a story about the Michigan House of Representatives. And as you said at the beginning of the show, this is they have worked hard there in Michigan to flip it to a blue state in their state house.
Mm-hmm.
So Democrats control it, and that means wokeness to a certain level. Love that word. Love that phrase. Anyway, no, but this particular bill, this is House Bills. Oh, it's a series of bills. 4, 4, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 45, 44. Anyway, a whole bunch of state bills which have passed the state house to be signed into law. They also have to pass in the Senate. But they literally, what the whole point is, you know how Christmas is like a holiday that people get to take off work and whatever, and there's some official holidays that are indeed religious holidays.
Right.
Well, Michigan's a very diverse state. We know that there are a lot of Muslims in Michigan. There's plenty of Hindu people in Michigan. They've gone the wrong direction. I don't know. Maybe it's the wrong direction. Maybe it's the right direction. They've decided to make a whole bunch of other holidays from different religions also state holidays.
Yikes.
So Diwali for Hindus, Jains, and Sikhs. The various Eids, your various and sundry Muslim Eids, Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. Lunar New Year, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Right. Yeah. I don't like this. And this is Dan, this is coming from somebody who really likes holidays, right?
That's true. You're a holiday buff.
I love the holidays. But at the same time, I don't know. It'd be kind of nice if Christmas wasn't Christmas, right? There's a day of the year called Christmas, right? But the fact that it's a federal holiday is kind of insane.
I understand people taking it off of work.
Sure.
That's fine. You're celebrating your religious and even a cultural holiday.
Yeah.
And you should be allowed to take that off work.
Sure.
The truly holy ones.
You should probably just have a bunch of floating holidays that you can take off or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Everybody gets X number of holiday days.
Or just more vacation time and you can take it when you want to. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't. Why are the Democrats doing this?
Well, okay, here's the point that I can see that makes sense to me, which is you're not going to get rid of Christmas. You're just not. And if you tried to, if you said this is no longer a state holiday, an official state holiday, Christians would lose their fucking minds.
It would be talk about war on Christmas, right? That's exactly the nuclear option for the war.
So you can't do that.
Yeah.
So the only way to say to these other, and let's face it, marginalized communities, and often like badly treated communities in this country is to include them. You know what I mean? Like, if we can't get rid of this as a thing for Christians, we can sure as hell extend the same thing to these other communities. But I mean, then you have to draw a line, like, whose holidays don't get included.
Yeah. And it's a little tricky. Yeah. I mean, I love inclusion, right? Like, and I love those values that lead people to this point, right?
Yeah.
But as an atheist, I guess there's just this line where I'm just like, really, we need more, state recognition of religion, right?
Right.
We need more of that in this country. Like that's it just doesn't feel like it's the right direction. To make it fair, it would have to be no religious holidays. And yeah, you're right. That's never happening.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
Certainly not and stay in office, because they'll just because that will rally the troops in ways that, like, you don't want to galvanize the religious freaks to scream, the Christians to, like, you don't want to give them something to yell about
and to show up.
Not that they won't yell about this, like,
oh, they hate this. They have
elevating
to hate this.
Yom Kippur as it will be just as frustrating to them as everything about this is you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't as a legislator. But it does seem like enshrining more religion into government is
American life in general. Yeah,
is a rough step. That's just.
I'm so conflicted. I'm so conflicted on this. Yeah,
it's a tricky one. I don't know that there's a solution. I don't know why, like, governments have holidays. I mean, I'm not even sure I understand the concept in general. But while it exists and while there are Christian ones there, I guess go for it. I don't know.
Like, you don't understand Labor Day? Like, what are you talking about?
I don't know. I don't know what, like, I understand societies and cultures celebrating festivals and holidays and that sort of thing. I'm not sure why the government comes into it.
Yeah.
I'm unclear on that. So maybe, maybe our listeners can offer some insights for that.
Yeah. I mean, because it is funny because, like, I think the immediate argument would be, well, it's so that we all have a day off together. Right. And it's like, yeah, but that's not that. What time period is your head in? Right. Like,
right.
Like, and even back then, like, did everybody have the day off? No. Right.
No.
There are plenty of people working on Labor Day and on the 4th of July and on Christmas. Right. Like,
but you get time and a half, Frank.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've worked many a holiday in my days, back in the day of retail and whatever. Yeah. And that, it's not like everybody gets it no matter what happens.
Right.
The infrastructure has to be tended to. The world has to keep turning.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a cultural thing. And also, especially in a country like ours, where all of the culture that we have is borrowed from other culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't have a culture. We have dozens of cultures.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Are they basically saying that in the state of Michigan, on these holidays, like, government offices will be closed?
I'm not sure.
Or are they acknowledging it and saying that employees who want to celebrate those days can just have them off as freebies?
I think that they're just saying.
Are they saying that we all should celebrate?
Yeah, I'm unclear on that. I'm unclear on. I think it should be that one. I think you should be state mandated to celebrate these things. I think it should be in schools. All the kids have to, I don't know, dress up for, lunar New Year or something. I don't know what you dress up. What do you dress up as? They definitely should not dress up for Eid. That would be that would invite some bad things. We'll have some flashbacks to our time, to our young youthful celebrations of Thanksgiving or whatever, which always involved a nice racist component to it.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm very confused. I'm glad that they are making attempts at inclusion. Again, I think that part of it feels like it's on a good track. I just think maybe they're going about it in a bad way.
Yeah. So we can just say their hearts are in the right place.
Bless their hearts.
They mean well, these legislators.
They mean well. All right. Well, if you would like to bless our heart, you can do so by writing into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to actually hear what you think about this topic.
Yeah.
The telephone number.
We clearly do not know what we think about it, so maybe you know what you think about it, and that would be great.
And the telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah. Hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click the like button.
And if you'd like to join one of our members-only lounges, you can do so by going to thankgodimatheist.com/members-only, and then they'll tell you what to do.
Yeah. Thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.